Hey guys, what's going on? David Avellan here with my co-host Robert Drysdale for another episode of Breaking the Guard.
How many episodes now, Dave?
I think we're in 51,
All right, not bad,
somewhere
not
around
bad.
that.
It's been a minute now. It's been, what, 2 weeks since we
Yeah,
filmed?
well, again, we've been different
All over the
places.
place, yeah.
I just came back recently from Costa Rica. Got to do the Hero BJJ Academy retreat and with Ron, and Rob's going to be coming up there. I think you're in the next few weeks, right?
Coming up 27th of May, so, yeah, a couple weeks.
Nice.
I'm excited now.
I'm actually going to be in Costa Rica at the same time, but
no
I'm going to
way.
be because I was supposed to go with Jamie, my girlfriend,
Yeah.
and last minute she had to cancel
Okay.
for work, so she still wanted to go. So I'm like, okay, we'll go again. So,
Yeah.
but this time I'll just be going for vacation.
Yeah.
You know, I know you've done them, but like it's a lot more work than you realize running the camp.
Yeah.
Because I taught more this time than I did last time because it was like maybe 15, 16 hours on a mat, and then I taught a bunch of private lessons. It was like one day I taught for 7 hours straight.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So
That's brutal. People think, oh, that, because most people that work a 9 to 5, like, oh, I do that every day. But here's the thing, man. When you're teaching, you're 100% immersed, engaged, talking, focused. It does something to your brain. It's not just physically exhausting, it's mentally exhausting. People don't it's like 7 hours. It's worse than 7 hours of driving. I mean, 'cause I've done that much teaching, it kills you. Like you're done for the day after.
It's a lot, especially when you're in Costa Rica and the humidity is like 90% and it's like 85.
And you want to go to the beach and now you don't have the energy.
Well, it's funny because we have a day where we do the sunset cruise, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you did it the last time you were there.
Yeah.
But and they're like, oh, we're gonna get to go to the beach again. I'm like, this is my first time to the beach, and it's the last day of the camp. Are you serious? I've been on the mats the whole time.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it's fortunate, but it was a lot of fun this time around too, and it was interesting because whenever I do these camps, they're all different people that I've never met before, and it's so cool how the martial arts has that family, that brotherhood, if you will, because everybody got along like day one.
Yeah.
And people were hanging out, doing groups. And there was one thing that really struck me, which is kind of funny. So we had an adventure day because my camp was actually scheduled for 8 days by accident. When me and Ron were doing the scheduling, we were supposed to do a week, and then when we put it, like, oh, this is actually 8 days. So we're like, okay, we'll put the day in the middle with no training, and we'll just let people, do whatever they want. So we had a group of like 11 of them decided, you know what, we'll go to the mountains and do the hiking and zip lining, all that. So we had 2 other people on the bus that weren't part of the trip. They were just, other people touristing, but they got along with us right away. One of them, they were both from New York, and one of them was like a special agent, something like that. Was kind of cool. He was terrified of heights. And there was somebody else, Super White Belt Chris, shout out. He's also terrified of heights. So they two formed together and like, okay, the first activity is ziplining.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, hopefully these guys can make it. And they did fine. They started doing the ziplining. But then at a certain point, there was like a giant swing, like a Tarzan rope.
Yeah.
And they were just terrified. And they were stuck on that platform for like a good half hour, 45 minutes. Until somebody was able to coax them to get out. But we're all waiting like, damn, Chris isn't in here yet? It's like, it's going to be a long day because the guy's like, there's no way backwards.
Yeah.
You can only go forwards, and we can't extract them any other way. So anyhow, they got through. And then the other guy, he's like, hey, I got to thank you, man. Your group was so supportive and awesome that it made this a lot easier because I was really stressed out. My wife kind of forced me to do this.
Yeah.
And it's obvious. I can tell that you guys had like a long friendship, like for years, because how close you guys are. I was like, I just met these guys 3 days ago.
Yeah.
He's like, what? It's just the kind of bond that we have to the martial arts. We've all struggled and suffered in the same way, so we know, like, you're in a gang, sort of like. You see
it
that?
is. Yeah. And you go halfway across the world, and you can talk to people like you've known them for years. I've noticed that, like, everywhere I go, I get the feeling that I'm talking to people that I've known my whole life.
Yeah.
Very, very. I mean, I don't know, like, if other endeavors are like that, like music or the other kind of martial art or arts in general. I can't speak. But I do feel that bond with grappling jiu-jitsu. Like everywhere I go, it's the same. Like it's the same. Like yeah, exactly. Hanging out, and anyone who saw us interacting would swear that we've known each other for a decade, and we just met 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. No, that's what I find amazing, the kind of rapport you can develop right away. And we're still chatting with each other now,
Yeah.
in a little WhatsApp group, and we have people poking jokes at each other. Um, and we made a few connections along the way, too. One of the guys had put me in contact with Henry Akins.
Okay.
I didn't realize Henry lives here in Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know he came here a few times, but it turns out he moved here. But he moved here during the pandemic, so it kind of not a great timing as far as like. So he hasn't been much. So he came over the house the other day. Super nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun, man. I always enjoy doing these camps.
Yeah, I've only been to Costa Rica once at Hero Academy, going back into the month now, and I'm excited, man. Like it's a beautiful place. It's very chill. Like normally Latin American, having grown up in Brazil, you're always worried about crime. Like it is an issue. There are very few places in Latin America where you're not going to be in danger.
Yeah.
Right. I never felt in danger in Costa Rica, man.
No,
Like you having grown up in Brazil, like I have like these radars. Like okay, like you kind of sense this is a hostile environment. Watch your wallet, watch your phone, kind of thing. In Costa Rica, I never got any of that. Like I always felt, you see the poverty, but like I think that they felt. I mean, Thailand is like that. Like they're so welcoming to tourists. Like they understand that their economy needs us, right? So they treat us like kings. I got that similar feel in Costa Rica. They were so friendly towards tourists. I think they know better not to rob us because that screws their economy. I don't know if they fully understand, but that's what they're doing. They're making us welcome and make you want to go back because you always feel safe.
Well, for sure. I just realized that Costa Rica is a country I've visited the most in the world besides living in the U.S. I've been there like 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
I think. Because when Bodog fight was going on, they did a lot of events in Costa Rica, and they used to have a place, an event called Costa Rica Fights for MMA.
Yeah.
So we went there a bunch of times. So I've been there in all parts of Costa Rica pretty much. Never felt endangered.
Yeah.
And especially where Hero is, at Tamarindo, it has that kind of Thailand vibe. You're in a beach town, and you can it's like dirt roads. You just walk around everywhere. Very chill. There's like virtually no crime. The only thing you see out there that's like slightly sketchy would be if you're walking around the beach at night, you're gonna have people asking, "Hey, you want some marijuana? You want some blows?" Something like that, but not aggressive, right?
Yeah,
So,
but here's the thing: like if you're a tourist, like I imagine at least half the tourists there want that.
yeah. So
Like
it's not like
it's not like they're like, oh my god, you offered me some weed. I'm like, pretty much half the tourists are probably smoke weed, at least, right? If not more. And since it's not legal there, I'm pretty sure it's not legal.
It's not legal.
I imagine even like the cops are probably like,
well, actually,
get away with
that
it.
was the one heads up, Ryan. He said, "Don't get it from the street because it's the one thing the cops will look to catch you on."
Really?
Yeah. So
I wonder if they turn a blind eye because again, it kind of helps them if there's that money flooded into the economy.
Yeah, he said there's other ways to get it.
Yeah. Don't buy it in the streets. Okay.
So if you're going, just be careful with that.
Yeah.
But food's good there.
How many 2 classes a day?
2 classes a day. I was doing 1 class in the morning, around 9-10 a.m. for an hour and a half, and then 1 in the evening for an hour and a half. And then in between, I was doing private lessons. We had 1 day where I did 1 long class, like a 2.5 hours. So we had the evening open. But it's a good pace. I would just tell you, if you're going there, stay hydrated. I had one gentleman, Ricardo, during the private lesson, his abs started cramping individually, which I've never seen before. Like the left ab just went poof.
Yeah.
And then the other one popped out. I was like, holy crap.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
I've never seen it before. I've seen legs cramp plenty,
Yeah.
He was just cramping everywhere. Then his inner thigh cramped.
Hydration.
And it's not just water. You need the electrolytes.
Yeah.
So they have a Pedialyte there that's actually really good. So it's like, I rarely drink sports drinks because I like drinking just water.
Yeah, but you need it.
But I was there. I'm like, I was taking one every day. I'm like, otherwise you're gonna just.
It's good to know.
Yeah, you're just sweating
because
so
it's
much.
getting summer. It's close to summer there. It's
hot.
Yeah.
No, it's hot. It's very humid. Especially us. We're coming from very dry climate.
Yeah.
There's a total opposite. It's like super wet. So like. Yeah. You're just sweating nonstop.
No, man, I'm excited, man. I like to teach, but like there's something about teaching that long that kind of kills you. But I'm gonna try to make some time for the for the beach. And last time I had a lot of fun fishing there, and I'd be able to train some too. Like I like training with new people. I'm always training with like the same people over and over. Sometimes it's a nice little change, you know.
Yeah.
Dave, what else is going on, man? We had Floyd Mayweather had his cap stolen by one of the brothers. Which one? I can't even keep up.
I think it was
Jake, or what's the other one?
Logan. I'm not sure which one. I would imagine Jake, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty lame move to walk into a face-off with a hat. There, you got to be. I mean, you got to foresee these things, you know.
Well, you know, I saw one of the girls do this too, where she was wearing a cap. It was a UFC.
Yeah,
I saw the strategic value in it because some dudes want to go like lip to lip. Which,
it's just always weird to me. Like,
are
you gonna kiss me? What are you gonna do, man?
If you have the cap, it kind of creates a little buffer.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you can't get that close.
The cap's gonna get in the way.
Yeah,
I always found that strange. Like the whole I understand you're trying to show you're not scared of the guy, so I'm gonna go right up into your grill and look at you. But like at a certain point, you start getting homoerotic.
I know, because you're like very close to kissing the guy, and that happened once where I saw a video. It was like, I don't know if it was YouTube or like Instagram, whatever it was, but the guy actually got close, and he did like, you know, just get to kiss him, and then the other guy just clocked him.
Oh, that was in Pride, I think.
Yeah, he just clocked him. Like, he just dropped him. Like,
I think it was a Japanese guy, and it was that big English guy, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember. I remember he dropped him. I was like, hey, man, you earned that.
Oh, no, Heath Herring.
I think, yes, it was Heath Herring. Right,
yeah, the guy tried to get cute with him. He's like, nope.
Oh, man. No, I can never. I've always done the stare down, because a lot of people don't like to do it. And I know it doesn't necessarily make you feel. Here's the thing about that stare down that people don't get, because I've had it done to me and I realize what it does. You're looking for weakness in your opponent, right? And the thing is, it's not hard to stare someone down. It's not that hard, right? But if you sense anything, it doesn't mean the person that is looking down or away is scared, but sometimes it does something to your own self-esteem. So maybe you are scared, and then you see that person looking down or away, and you go, oh, I feel great. I might have told this story here already. It's possible. We've talked about everything under the sun on this podcast. But I remember like Brazilian Nationals 2004. I won my weight class in the Open that year, right? And I had 10 fights one day. I won, like, I think all of them by submission except this one. It was a semifinal.
10 fights in one day. Good Lord.
5 in my weight class, 5 in the Open. And I beat some big names that day, too. So it was like the week before I got my black belt. It was right before I got my black belt. We won. Braza was like 3 points behind BTT. And because I won the Open, it was the last fight of the night. We won the whole tournament. So it was like a big day, right? But the guy beat in the semifinal, I'm not going to mention his name, but like he won 2 weight classes above, I believe, or 1 weight class above. Like, he's a big name. And what happened was, I could see, I had won my weight class, right? And I'm thinking, okay, I won my weight class. I'm 3rd in the Open, like podium syndrome, you know, I'm on the podium twice. Like, not a bad result. I was happy. I was sort of accepting the fact that I was going to lose this guy because he was heavier than me. He was very good. And he had won his weight class. Pretty sure he did. And I'm thinking, probably going to lose. My luck was I had a hoodie on, so he couldn't really see my facial expressions. I was shitting my pants. I was very tired from my previous match too. And I could see this guy, he's kind of like checking me out, and he's looking me over, right? And he's going like, he's measuring me up like head to toe. And I can see, wait a second. Like, he couldn't quite see me as well as I could see him, right? And I can see that this guy was nervous too. And I can't explain what it did to me, David. It did something to my confidence once I realized that he was also nervous. It shot my confidence through the roof. I was walking in there to lose in my head. In the back of my mind, I wasn't going to win. But it did something to my confidence, seeing that he was as nervous as I was. And then I became very confident, right? So I think the stare down does serve a purpose to not to let your opponent gain any more confidence. I think that's what's going on there. It's not so much that you're scared, because Sakuraba always looked away. And I don't think he was scared. But I think that unwillingly he might have been boosting his opponent's resolve a little bit, or at least his self-esteem and confidence, because it's shaken. You know, you're doubted as a fighter. I don't care how experienced you are. And I've had like very successful like champions admit this to me. Like, everyone's scared. Yeah. There's no one in there who's not scared. Everyone's doubting, am I going to win? Is this guy better than me? Did he train harder? Like, what's going to happen? Everyone is doubting themselves. Anything that makes you feel a little bit better is a lot.
Yeah. You know? It's a game of inches for sure. And there's some famous fighters never looked at people, like Fedor always looked down, never stare down. So like you're right. It doesn't mean like, oh, you're out, you know. Yeah. But there is something like, if I'm staring at you and you're staring at me, and then you look down, it's like, oof.
You feel better.
Yeah.
You feel better. Yeah.
But I think this also is just there's also like a primitive connection to it, because in the animal kingdom, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you stare a wolf down, oh, you better get ready. it's coming at you.
Yeah.
It's a sign of aggression for most animals, if you stare at them, right? So I think we're no different, So if you lock eyes with somebody and you look away, that's why they tell you, like, if you're going to stare someone down, never look back. If you don't want to play the game, just look down.
Yeah.
But even then, I feel it's kind of like they tell you with a silverback gorilla, it's the same thing. They say never look them in the eyes because that's a challenge. So you always look down. But if I'm looking down and you're the silverback, you see me as submissive.
Yeah.
Right? So I would see that as the guy who's trying to engage in the stare down. The guy won't even engage with me. He's afraid to play the game to begin with.
Yes.
So there is definitely a psychological component to it. I think it's a
100%.
point. I always tell all my fighters, look right through that fucker.
It's very, very animal, man. And you look him dead in the eye, too. Not like his cheek, not his nose, more like dead in the eye. And I remember the first time someone did that to me, it was Roger, man. He was staring at me, like, right before. In jiu-jitsu, no one does that. No one ever done that to me before. And he did. He's like staring. I was like, holy shit, this guy's serious, man. And I went, wait a second. Like, it was after the match that I realized, like, how serious. This is the final of the World Championships. Like, this is serious.
Yeah.
But in my head, it's like, oh, we're doing jiu-jitsu, I made it to the finals. Like, and then you can see that there was like an intensity there that it was a lesson too. It was like, oh man, this is serious shit here. Like, this guy will hurt me if he has to win.
Yes.
And he would, and I would too. Like, it's like, it is serious business. Like, if I have to, almost kill you to win, I don't want to kill anyone. But like, if I have to break your arm, leg, or anything to win, I'm going to do it. And it's terrible, but that's the reality of combat. And I think that the eye contact, as primal as it's, we don't like to admit this animal side, but they're deep down, man. There's an animal in there, man.
100%.
We just don't like to talk about it because it's like politically incorrect or whatever. It's, we're in denial about it. We're smarter than that. I'm like, just watch your own behavior, man. Yeah. Watch it closely. You're way more chimp than you'd like to admit.
Yeah, we just have a lot of vocabulary and a lot of games, but behind everything, it's like a primitive impulse that gets you going.
We learn how to talk. That was it.
Yeah, but I do agree the intent. I think that's the other benefit that you get from staring someone in the eyes. Because you kind of get a measure of somebody when you look at them, and that confidence that you said you gained it reminded me of something that I would do in competitions when I would be wrestling somebody or fighting them or grappling, whatever it was. I would listen for the breathing. And when I hear someone,
yes,
I'm like, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like it kind of humanizes them, right?
Yes.
If you were fighting somebody for like 5 minutes and they're like not breathing at all, you're like, oh shit, like this guy's
a robot.
Yeah, he's got a lot in the tank, But like if he's breathing hard and or if it's breathing, in my mind, they were always breathing harder than me.
Yeah.
Right. But it probably was the same or not. But like, as long as you hear that, there's a little confidence boost. Like, okay, he's tired too.
What my favorite is? Like, right when you're struggling to pass someone's guard, and it's that battle that goes on for like 2-3 minutes trying to pass, and you finally pass, and you hear them go,
yeah.
They're like, oh, I got you. It's over.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because you do it unconsciously. Everyone does it. You probably, I don't think I've ever caught myself doing it, but I'm sure I do it too because I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
But like I've even told myself in the past, like, man, you gotta be more aware of how you breathe and not just your facial expressions too, mid grappling. Like, do you look like you're suffering? You don't want to show that, right? Because that gives them, he's about to break and then he sees you breaking, he keeps going.
Yeah.
Right? This thing is so much more psychological than people think because it's this hyper focus on technique, which is to me a third of the equation. It's super important. I'm not denying that third, but it's almost like there's a laser-like focus on that when it comes to the grappling community. And there's conditioning, everyone accepts it as well. Right, but there's not too much focus on it when you think about it. People understand its importance. But when it comes to all this, the mindset, like the poker face, the confidence, the self-esteem that you build, like to me, that's a probably bigger number in the equation. Because when I look at champions, let's say jiu-jitsu, let's just stick to jiu-jitsu. You look at someone like everyone from Jacare to Rafael Mendes to Mike Musumeci to Lucas. I mean, you name your champion, right? How similar are they technically? Not at all. They're completely different, right? You see some guys that are similar. Okay, Paulo Miao is identical to João Miao. Okay, in every way. They they're not only they grapple like twins. Yeah, they have the same style, right? Or even Musumeci has a very similar style to them. But there's an enormous, even like amongst the same weight classes, like Bruno Malfacini and Mike Musumeci are completely different. There's a huge variety of like technical expertises, right? And they're all champions. So to me, the common denominator cannot be the technique. Because you get this the hype, it creates an idea. it creates the myth that this style is the dominant one, right? Because there's so much like Instagram on, and the algorithm just shoots shit through the roof, and people are under the impression that this is the best method, right? Because look at these guys are all winning. And then when you look at champions, and you look at actually the facts, and you forget the hype, and you forget the algorithm, you look at what's happened, the broader picture, you see that people have a variety of styles, and they're all successful. So to me, the common denominator cannot be the technique. Yeah. What did they have in common? Because their techniques are completely different, how they grapple. It has to be the mindset. Like, what is it that makes you not quit when the time comes for you to quit? Like, there's a choice. Are you going to quit? You're going to go hard? What are you going to do? And like, some people fold, some people keep going. And I've seen this like so many. I don't know if there's a method to change that, but to me, I think that's the biggest number in the equation, man. Like, the more I think about it, I don't think that there's a way I don't know if there's a way to fix it or change it. You can improve on it, but it's a very personal question. Like, because you've seen self-boycott. How many times have you seen that? Yeah. People that are phenomenal on the mats, and they just, like, when the time comes, they're just like, I'm not good enough to do this. And they talk the talk, and they train the train. Like, they're there, man. Like, they do everything correctly. And when the time comes, something happens. It's something way in there, man. And I don't know if it can or can't be fixed. It can be improved on, I suppose, but
yeah, that's why they call it, like, or as Masvidal called it, game bread, right? He even got himself a tattoo on his neck for that. But I think it's something that's developed, but it's tricky to teach it, right? It's kind of like, I can't teach you humility by reading you a textbook. Yeah. You have to learn humility the hard way. Yes. Right? I can't teach you how to be tough by telling you, oh, this is what a tough guy does. Yeah. I got to put you through what tough people go through, and you have to get through it. Yeah. So you have to earn it. It's funny because I tell my girlfriend all the time, like, I can solve a lot of your problems if you train martial arts. Yeah. She's like, oh, but I don't want to get hurt. I'm like, well, it kind of comes with the territory, like, because I can't tell you these things and like, oh, I understand it. Because everybody then would be, humble, tough, all that. It was easier to learn those lessons, but you have to go through the struggle or that physical endeavor, and then you learn inherently how to be tough because you did what tough people do. Yeah. Or you learn humility because you've been humbled, and now you get a different perspective. So I think when it comes to the competition mindset, if you're sheltered for a very long time from challenging yourself, then you develop this fear. A lot of people are just scared of finding out something, right? And that's like an insecurity, versus, or some people they're just always insecure. And that's a lot of people nowadays. And I think the whole social media thing doesn't make things easier because you see so many studs and incredible men and women out there. And then you look in yourself, and most of us usually look at ourselves worse than we are, right? Yeah. Like, especially competitors. I know whenever you compete, if you judge your own performance, it's just like, oh, I did shit.
I can't watch my matches. Yeah. It gives me anxiety. Yeah. I cannot watch myself grapple.
But you always think you did worse than you did. Yeah. And if a fighter loses, the first thing they're going to tell you, I'm sorry. Like, no, what are you sorry for? Yeah. But like, everybody judges himself harder. We have that inner judge in ourselves that's always like critiquing everything that we do. It's good in a way, but in moderation, right?
Oh, I always say this: like, you want anxiety over the future. You never want anxiety over the past. The past is a lesson. You can only learn from. There's absolutely nothing else that's good for it. It's like dead weight you're carrying. Got to get rid of it. Anxiety of the future is good if it's channeled, if you use it in a positive way to create, right? As long as you're not just like, oh, fuck, what's going to happen to the world economy tomorrow, and you sit on your ass all day and do nothing about it. But if you have that anxiety and you're making moves to prepare yourself for, future Great Depression or whatever, that's a good anxiety. You have. I'm convinced that nature put that there for a reason. Yep. I don't think it's there for no reason. It's like, get prepared, motherfucker. Like, shit's about to hit the fan. Yeah. We're about to starve. Like, we're out of game. What are you going to do? So you want that anxiety. Am I going to be able to find something to eat tomorrow? It makes you try hard. It makes you wake up early in the morning to go get, kill an animal, if that's what you have to do. Where the anxiety of the past is what I feel most of us suffer from. Like, it's hard for people to let go of it. Like, I know, like, things that I've done in the past or, like, mistakes that I've made that haunt me. And I'm like, fuck, man, like, you just got to let that go. And I think I've been better over the years, but like, it does, I think we all do that. Like, you just hold on to things. It's just dead weight. There's nothing you can do about it.
I think that's a very good point you brought. I haven't heard it phrased like that. I like that a lot. And I think the anxiety that you have over the past, or in general, everybody does, is something that's unresolved,
Yeah.
right? So like something that bothered you that you did in your past, and you haven't really confronted fully what is it that bothered you about it, like, or what you could have done better. What was the true learning lesson that you could have got from it? And our brains don't like patterns or problems that are not solved. That's where like you give someone like a paradox, it's like what the hell? Like how do you solve this thing?
Yeah.
You know? I heard this one, which is funny. And he goes, okay, answer this question, yes or no. Is the next word that you have to say yes or no. Is the next word that you're gonna say is no? And then it's like,
It messes with you, because there's no right way to answer. It's a tricky question.
Right. So we don't like those type of lingering things in our head. So I think when you have stuff in your past that like it haunts you, it's like you haven't fixed it yet, right? And when they're trivial, it's not a big deal. But like people who have like massive like chronic problems, I think they tend to subdue that with drugs, alcohol, crazy activities.
Yeah.
They try to dull that, but it's still there. You know, like
it's not tackled. Yes.
Yeah, those problems don't go away. Like they tend to manifest in different ways. You know, like we're getting a little in the weeds, but there's people who manifest like physical pain from emotional stress.
Yeah.
And there was a study that was interesting that in car accidents here in the U.S., people usually experience like whiplash and back pain and neck pain. But in other countries, they experience pain in their ankles and, in their legs.
Interesting.
But it's like so they're trying to say it's the same traumatic incident, but we're expressing pain differently. And the idea was perhaps it's not all actually physical, but it's just mental. Like we deal with high stress activities by giving yourself pain in different areas, like from oxygen deprivation and whatnot. So moral of the story is like you have to ask yourself those hard questions, do the inner reflection, and figure out what is it about this thing that's not letting me let go, because that is the analogy. You're holding on to it, right? Like that stress or that anger or the sadness that keeps you up at night or whatever. That's something that you're holding on to. It's like you're holding a knife in your back. It's like,
and it's and sometimes it's like you're not forgiving yourself. Like you've done something wrong. It's like you have to forgive yourself. And it depends on what level of conscience you have, I guess, because if you're a sociopath, it's almost like a biological advantage because you don't feel any guilt. You just can do it again. And it benefits you. Yeah. That's what a sociopath does. He smiles at you, give me your money. He steals from you, right? Because you trust him. And then they take that, they do that to you, whatever, and they can do it again to the next person because there's no guilt. Yeah. Right? So I think that, sociopath might be a biological advantage in terms of how well you do in the world, depending on what you mean by success, of course. But like I think that a lot of this is like not the inability to forgive ourselves for the things we've done in the past or mistakes we've made or things that we keep thinking, we should have done this different. I should have done this. I should have done that, right? And this is what I tell myself. It doesn't work that well, but it works a little bit. I did what I thought at the time was the best thing to do. Therefore, I shouldn't regret it, right? At that time, it's not like I wanted to choose the wrong thing to do. I wanted to do what I felt was the best thing for that circumstance, for that particular problem or issue. And that kind of helps a little bit with, okay, I'm not Captain Hind. You can't go back and go, I should have done this, I should have done that. That doesn't help you, right? So you just got to let go of it and use that as a lesson. I always try to say this to my students: when you lose a tournament, it's on you. You can do two things. You can blame the referee for being Brazilian. You can do that. Sure you can. Of course you can. Blame the rules. It's the master slippery. Blame the weather. You can do all these things, right? How much progress do you make? Yeah. Zero. Or you can get that anxiety, that frustration. Is like, break it down, analyze it, like, what did I do wrong that I can do better in the future so I don't repeat this mistake, right? But it's all you can do. It's very easy to say. For some reason, I feel like even myself, as much as I say this, I find myself not following my own advice. It's not an easy thing to incorporate into your behavior.
And it's not just for yourself that you have to forgive, because some people get wronged by somebody, right? Yeah. And then it's like, and someone would tell you, you need to forgive them. Like, I can't, right? Yeah. But like I always say, like, the forgiveness is not for them. It's for you, right? If someone wronged you, you have to realize that you made yourself vulnerable to this person. You created mistakes yourself to allow someone into your life that ended up hurting you. So there's a responsibility on your own that you have to take. Like, hey, I kind of allowed this situation to happen. Like if if someone scanned me in a car, I had to go to this person and trust that he was going to give me the car. I made a mistake in judgment of this person's character. You know what I mean? So, and the forgiveness is not that this guy's an asshole. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm probably never going to see this guy ever again. Right? It's for me. I need to say, I need to be able to, you know what? I need to be able to just let this guy go.
Yeah. It's like hate.
Yeah.
No one, if you're hated, you don't feel a thing. Like, no one cares. No one who's hated gives a shit.
No, they don't.
It's the person who hates. You know, that the person who's resentful. Like, you know, that's the person. It's like it's something I've been saying this. Like, sometimes, you know, being a gym owner in jiu-jitsu, it's so political, man. It's like there's constantly someone trying. Like, there's never a day where someone's not going to try to peck at you. You know, like, there's always someone trying to take that. And it's over the years, it's like, fuck, man, like, what's the right thing to do here, right? And I'm like, you know what, man? I just focus on me. I'm going to focus on what I do best and let the chips fall where they may. And I find like it's so much easier to deal with things now because you can't control everything. You can't control what people do. You just got to focus on what you do what you like, be happy about it, smile as much as you can, and don't worry about every single little outcome because you're not going to win all fights. But if you sink your teeth into what you really love and you're passionate about and you do it, you know, don't try to be ethical along the way. You're not going to be perfect, but do your best. That's it, man. And then that right there kind of eliminates. It makes the bullshit not as sticky as it could be. Right? When people throw crap at you, you know, it's kind of just bounces off, you know. Versus, oh fuck, I got to carry this around too, you know. But I actually learned that in like a lot of these lessons, man. Like I know that the mats are supposed to be this great life. People stereotype it a lot, like it's this great place to learn lessons, but I think a lot of it is accurate, man. Like a lot of the problems you're gonna have, you have those same lessons on the mats.
Sure.
This is why I'm such a fan of competition, man. Like when I see this, I call it the culture of participation medal. It's a cancer, man. Like you're depriving. You know, I compare it like a child that can't lose. You can't let the child suffer. Don't let them suffer.
Yeah.
Don't let them cry. It's like depriving a child from developing an immune system. Don't develop an immune system. No bacteria. We're gonna have no bacteria in the world. We're gonna have a world with no bacteria. Yeah. That's not gonna work, buddy. No. That's not. And I think a lot of like political correctness is an attempt to eliminate bacteria. They're trying to prevent. Like you're gonna have these things. Now you can only learn how to deal with it.
Well, it's really weird because back in the day, if you were liberal, you were all about free speech.
Oh my God! Don't get me started with those.
Yeah, and so now it's like we're trying to subvert speech. You know,
I was just saying this to a student of mine this morning because we were having the same conversation. He goes, "I never in my life would have thought that the left would be the one attacking free speech because historically it's always been the opposite.
Yes,
progressive have always been the ones battling for free speech, right? The serious ones at least. And you know, I've been a liberal for most of my life, but like I can't identify myself with that. I just don't. I just like, well, if that's what you guys, okay, I'm whatever you guys are, I'm not, because I don't want to be put in that category because I think it's absurd. I think even racist, you should let them speak. Yeah. I want them out. I want them in the spotlight. I want to find out who they are.
Exactly.
And then you let if the ideas they're not good ideas. I think that most people in the 21st century are going to look at that. And this is anti-scientific. This is dumb.
Yeah.
You know, but like when you're depriving them from speaking, you're going, oh, maybe they have something to say then. Because why else would you want to shut them up?
Yeah.
You know, and it's a major attack on free speech. I don't, and someone said this to me the other day, like, oh, but you're free to say whatever you want, but you're not free to deal with the but you have to deal with the consequences, right? Or something like that. Mm-hmm. Well, that's true in the Soviet Union too. Yeah. Right? You can say, I mean, so you could attack Stalin. He's a murderous piece of shit. You could have done that, and then you're going to die in a gulag.
Yeah.
But you can say it. It's just that the level of punishment in the West is not the same. So today, if you say something politically correct, you're not going to go to a gulag, but you might destroy your professional career, right? Or something like that because people will attack you. So it's the level of punishment that has changed. But the PC patrol, like I see Stalinists, like commissars, like borderline fanatics that cannot handle an opinion that they don't like. You know, and I'm not one who would say that, oh, hate is good. I don't want to hate. Why would I want to carry? For the same reason I just gave, I don't want to carry that around. But if I wanted to, I should be free to hate. Yeah. The state or anyone else is not in a position to determine how I feel. Because if the state is in a position to determine how I feel about hate, it is also in the position to determine how I feel about love. It's in the position to determine how I feel about anything.
Yeah.
No one should have that power. How I feel is up to me. I'm an adult, right? But what they're trying to do is, oh, you can't feel that anymore. Like, yes, I can. And I should be able to verbalize it if I wanted to. Personally, I think it's a waste of time and energy to attack people for their religion or the color of their skin. I got better things to do with my time, and it's anti-scientific anyway. But if I wanted to, you should have the freedom to do it.
It's just like 1984,
Yeah.
right? Where they discovered that if you're able to control, well, at least the book says it, but I believe that. If you're able to control the vocabulary that people are able to use,
Yes.
you get to control how they think.
Double speak.
Yeah, exactly. Wrong think and this and stuff, right? So it's very true. And that's why I tell like people like in jiu-jitsu, learn the names of the moves. Because if you don't know the names of the move, you can't really remember it that well. Yeah. I remember I had an incident once where I was coaching one of my blue belts, and he didn't know a hip over sweep or hip bump sweep. And he was in a perfect opportunity to do it. I'm like, hip bump, hand bump. And then he looked at me like confused. I was like, oh, this is going to be complicated. Okay, left hand on the mat. Post your hips up. I managed to coach him through it. And then when he won the match with it. And then, okay, that's a hip bump. Remember?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. But the language is important. Like, and this has been a huge gap in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The fact that we've never named anything. Like, and I mentioned this in the book. Like, Jiu-Jitsu has always lacked a technical canon, like an original curriculum. Like judo, they establish a curriculum. They lock it down with a kata, meaning kata, this is our main corpse, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the main body of what we do. Not corpse, but like just the body of what we do. But like after that, they expanded to, what they call creative judo, competitive judo, whatever. But they have a canon that's fixed, right? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kind of never had that. It's always been open, which is to its advantage in many ways, because the more open it is, the more welcoming it is to new ideas. That's why it's able to incorporate so much. On the other hand, you have the problem you just described. People don't name anything. You go to every gym around the world, they have like their own names. Like every time like I go to a gym, like, Rob, what about the M guard? There's a guard for every like letter in the alphabet. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, it's the guard, ZYX or whatever. I'm like, I can't keep up. There's so many letters.
Grilled chicken guard. I'm like, what?
I can't deal with this anymore. Man, you guys, it's got to stop this madness. And then they show me something. It's always like something that's like been around forever. It's like an open guard. Or it's a De La Riva. Or it's always something that you've seen a million. It's never something really new, but they're just trying to sell DVDs. So they got to brand it as something, which I get. But I think that has hurt Jiu-Jitsu a lot, that we can't agree on names. But anyway, that was completely total tangent there, Dave. I'm sorry, we were talking about something else, but yeah.
No, I mean it's a good point, because even myself, like sometimes like people ask, "What's the name of that move?" I'm like, "Fuck,
I don't have a name for most moves. I just go." It makes it difficult, because a lot of times if you're like trying to describe a move to a friend, it goes like this. How does it go? He goes, "Oh, that move that so and so does. Which one? Oh, that sweep he does from half guard all the time. Which one? The one he grabs the wrist? Oh no, the one where he grabs the waist. Oh, okay. Oh, the one he grabs the waist." You use like 50 words to describe the situation.
Yes.
Whereas if everyone agreed on what we're doing. But think about it this way, though. In terms of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, how could they have established an original canon when they were learning themselves? Like, these guys are not starting as grandmasters. You got to remember, like, they were learning to. They were incorporating as much as they could, but I mean, maybe there was an original canon. You suppose you could have one in the original Gracie Academy curriculum, but it was very limited in comparison, But they're not to blame for that either. It's a tough one. I don't think they could have. I think things happened the way they had to happen. I don't think they could have done anything different. But judo had like a different birth. That's why it was able to establish that from the beginning, right? And if you look at it, it hasn't changed that much. The Sotogari was there in the beginning. It's still there right now. It hasn't really been that modified. I mean, I don't think it's been modified at all. I wouldn't know, outside of competitive judo. But yeah, like I think that this has hurt jiu-jitsu in a lot of ways, but it's also been helpful and as a side effect. Keeping the canon open is super important for creativity to take place.
And I would give credit to Eddie Bravo for his unique naming system, because he's done well in labeling, but it's kind of good in a way for him, because if someone goes, "Oh, double crackhead control," I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but their language.
Double crackhead. But it's like, that's the kind of names he comes up with, like the dumbest name.
There is a crackhead control.
Oh, crackhead control?
There is a crackhead control.
That's great.
But I don't know what it is, but I know it's something. Right? There's like zombie, and but it's kind of genius, because in their language, they all understand clearly. Yeah. They're still speaking English, but they're speaking 10th planet.
Yeah. It works. You have to be familiar.
So they could be coaching their guy, and you're in front of them, and you're like, I don't know what the hell he's saying.
I've had keywords with my fighters before. I was like, okay, this is what we're going to call this and that. So the other corner and the other fighter don't pick up on it. Like, that's smart. You should have your own. I mean, it's not like it's secret. You could probably find out what it is if you want to really be serious about studying your opponent.
Yeah.
But it is definitely helpful. It is definitely helpful to have that. But at the same time, like, you're gonna have to come up with new words, because every time there's something new, and there's always new stuff. It's never that different, right? Everything is just an adaptation of something older. But I mean, think about how many positions belong in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu curriculum. I've written a curriculum for Zenith, right?
Yeah.
I've done it, and like I struggled a lot.
Yeah.
Because you can't make it too broad. But if you shorten it and make it accessible, this is, a curriculum I can use in class, there's no way you're not leaving out 5,000 moves with all their variations. Like, and it's a beauty, but at the same time, it's almost like it's what makes the martial arts so interesting. But at the same time, it's like there's like a very loose order to it, is what I'm saying. It's a very chaotic kind of order. It works in a very chaotic way, but it's not very structured, is what I'm saying.
And I know, because I like doing those mind maps and charts and all that.
Yeah. Oh, you get lost with those.
If I try to put in every move just from like close guard,
oh my God,
it's just going to be like a spider web.
And if you start studying what other people do that you don't do,
and
then you just like, now it goes up exponentially, because no one can know everything.
Yeah. And so then, like, then let's say I did the time and I made my spider web. Oh, here's a curriculum. Like, what the fuck?
You can't make sense of it. It's exactly, it's too broad.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the problem I had when I started, was like I had to like leave a lot out. So what did I focus on? I try to focus on the most common things. What are the top 10 from close guard, for example, right? But again, even then, you're super biased, because you're always going to lean towards giving your own top 10.
Yeah.
Which may not be the actual top 10, because we don't have statistics on all this, so we don't really know, right? So you're giving your impression of what the top 10 from close guard are, right? So you're leaving out all, you don't even know what you're leaving out, right? So it's very arbitrary, the whole thing, and the whole thing is it's a very weird kind of structure. It's not like most systems,
That's kind of goes back to what we've talked about before, which is the nature of mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu. It's so technical that it's hard to pin down. That's why, like, if you were to do a system for like basketball, it would be a lot easier, because there's so many more constraints. You don't have as much, free will in basketball. Like, you have to dribble the ball, you can't run and carry. So like, there's a limited amount of movements that you can make. I'm sure it's a lot more complex than I would think it is, but at a certain point, it's not. It's like boxing as well. Like, boxing is complex, but there's only so much you can do. You have 2 punches, you have your footwork, head movement, so it's easier for a spectator to follow. Yeah. It's easier to teach, because there's not as much going on. So like boxing, like the higher level boxers they focus on those small details a lot better, where most people, they see the cross, they just see the upper body work.
Yeah.
The technician has the hips, the legs, and, moving the weight. But like in jiu-jitsu, there's so much you can do that, like, even just with one motion, you can get lost, in the weeds, just because there's so many possibilities. So I think it makes it hard to create that, like, as you would say, that perfect curriculum, because it would just be like infinitely large, practically.
And this is why I have a hypothesis that people with OCD they could struggle a lot in martial arts, like especially one like jiu-jitsu, for these reasons, because they like structure. People that have that sort of mindset, like I like, and it's hard, because you're kind of, in jiu-jitsu, I call it orderly chaos. That's what I call it. That's what you're doing. There's an order to it. Like, you're trying to pass, like, you don't want to get caught in a triangle. There are rules, but they're so flexible. Like, every single rule in there. Like, sometimes, like, oh, you never want to get caught in a triangle. No, sometimes, like, that might be the right thing to do. Like, if I were training with, you train with a guy like Rafael Mendes or Michael Smith, you want to walk in his La Hiva, you're better off, like, walking in with that over-under passage. Like, I'm a big guy. It'd be hard to put me in a triangle. Very odd example, I know, but I'm just trying to be, like, to the extreme here. But my point is, there are, like, so many exceptions. You can't really have rule. Like Telly's, look, he's the weirdest guy in the world. He made a career out of giving his back. And I've trained with Telly's. Back in the day, he was murdering people. I'm not going to mention names, but every single guy on the team was getting tapped by Telly's the same way. And it was like, you can't go to this guy's back. It's the weirdest thing in the world, And so, like, who's going to say he's wrong? Like, what's wrong? So it makes it very difficult to create a hierarchy. Like, the closest thing to it are statistics, because then you can find, like, what are the most common ones, and then you can base your curriculum off of that. Unfortunately, there's very little on it. There's this guy in a university in Brazil. I've been talking to him, and he's been collecting a lot of data, and he starts trying to do that. I even talked about, like, maybe cooperating with him, doing something together in the future, where, like, we can have, like, a book just on statistics on jiu-jitsu tournaments. because that's the only way you're going to get close. Not perfect, but you get as close as you can to an actual system that is not based off of hype and impressions and fashion.
Yeah.
It is based off of facts. I always remember that movie Moneyball. You've seen it, right?
Yep.
They go like, forget what you think, man. You're wrong all the time. I don't care how wise you are, how experienced you are, you're going to be wrong. Got to look at the numbers. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that's going to come close to the reality of what's happening in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, otherwise you're just going to be biased based on what you're
100%.
What you're looking at. You know? Because, I mean, I know they've done studies, at least with ACC, since it's kind of a very limited set of data, you know, you can get the highest finishing submissions or whatnot. But, I mean, there's been like maybe 10 or 12 ADCCs, and so it's not a big...
It's a very small pool,
It's a small pool, and the rules are also somewhat particular, so it like skews, you know, what moves are going to work. Well, I imagine rear naked chokes will be number one there.
I would imagine that's by far the number one.
Just because of the back take loophole, you know. Yeah. So, but IBJF and stuff like that would add more value to it. But yeah, I imagine it would be an immense amount of
work. And it varies from weight class to weight class. And it varies, and that's what this guy was having problems. I was talking to him, like it varies on like female division dramatically. Like, and it varies from belt to belt. And you have to do specific for every weight class and every belt and gender and age, because it varies too. Like, and there are some consistencies. My guess, and I would be willing to put a lot of money on this, back is number one. Rear naked choke, no gi, and bow and arrow and the gi, like an arm bar, probably a close tie there to those two. But I mean, but that there's variation. For example, how many De La Riva sweeps do you think you see in the ultra heavyweight division? Close to none, right? The sweeps are going to be completely different, right? And in the lightweight division, how many closed guard sweeps do you see? You don't see a lot. They don't play a lot of closed guard. And the roosterweight division, they're very open guard oriented, right? So these numbers are going to, if I were to create a perfect system for teaching, first I need all that data, which we don't have, doesn't exist. Second, I would have to have a class per weight class, per gender, per age, per belt rank. That's what I'll have to do. You'd have to have like 12 classes, completely separate. And you have to train them completely differently. That's the I don't know if this is true, but I heard in Kodokan in Japan, they have it. I don't know if this is true. This might be apocryphal. I have no idea. Yeah. But they have rooms for like specializing in each kind of technique. Like they kind of have that separation, right? So
it makes sense. It's kind of like football, you know. You have defensive teamwork and you have offensive teamwork.
It's a different kind of work. You can't make them practice the same way. Right. But then you run into the problem of resources. I'm one instructor. I have one small gym. The gym, like gyms are not that profitable. I can't afford to hire a team of experts, like have 8 coaches, and we're not the NFL. Yeah. So, but like if you wanted to get serious about it, and this is why like when people think that this guy's got it down to each other, this guy's like, I mean, we're just scraping the surface. No one's got this down because no one's doing that. Everyone's recipe right now is the same: go, roll, train, war, which is the most important thing. But we could be channeling all that energy into a more intelligent direction. Like, how do we focus our energy into being the most efficient grapplers we can be? Right now, there's not a lot of that going on. It's all like, go, roll. Because everything, any kind of system or method you try to create, it is entirely based off speculation and assumptions because we don't have data. Yeah.
But you can get even further in the weeds because it also depends on the type of person you're going to compete against too, right? Yeah. I remember one in particular with Masvidal. He was going to fight Rafael Sunsao in Georgia. This is way back, and Rafael is short relatively compared to George. So I'm like, George, he's probably going to take you down. If he takes you down, since you're so much longer than him, he has to stand up to pass. There's no way he'll be able to pass your guard from you. You're just too tall. So when he stands, we're working flower sweeps, we're working back sweeps, and worked every time. It happened exactly as you predicted, right? Because we game planned for that particular guy, right? So like that, then that's when the fight camps always have been tailored towards the opponent,
But this is the problem when people have a too specialized game, because this is a common question beginners are asking. They go, Rob, should I specialize in one thing or be good at everything? And I've always preferred to be good. I'm mediocre at everything. Like, no, you're exactly. No, I'm really mediocre at everything. But I can do everything with mediocrity, right? Like I don't have a lot of holes in me. You can put me almost any position I can hang, but I'm not really great at anything. I always wanted to learn that way because I think it makes you a better teacher. On the other hand, if I'm in a situation like this, like let's say I don't play a lot of half guard, but I got some half guard, but half guard is what I need to know to beat a certain opponent, like what you're describing. I'm going to be a lot faster to adapt to that because I already have a background in that, right? On the other hand, you see some of the best grapplers or best fighters in history, and they're like one-trick ponies, man. Like you look at them, they don't have all. They defend everything well, but offensively, they're very simple. They're very like Cael Sanders, an ankle pick, Yamashito, Sotogari, Roger. Dude, Roger's got like 6 moves.
Yeah,
I'm serious. Like you can count them. Like you can count them like in 2 hands. Like you got maybe 10 moves that he does consistently, right? It's very unique. But at the same time, like if you ever happen to have someone that has your kryptonite, you're not gonna have a lot of defenses if you are unable to impose that from the beginning, right? And that happens in fights where people. But there's always like some people in sports that feel like they're so ahead of the competition that they're just so dominant for a short period of time. No one's that dominant for that long, right? But for a short period of time, it's like it's almost like they're invincible. Like I've seen that they have like there is a moment there where you have no rivals, and it's very rare. And I don't like that, by the way. I think that's very detrimental to the culture when someone is that good. I think it's better that we're in constant competition with each other. That's what advances the game.
For sure.
Because if I beat you every single time, Dave, you would eventually just stop trying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there has to be like a response. There has to be a conflict.
In both ways.
In both ways. Yeah,
because you're like, oh, I don't have to change anything.
Yeah.
I just keep doing what I'm doing. It works.
Yeah, exactly. And I would be a detriment. You would be a detriment. And the overall culture is at a detriment because there's no evolution. There's no
always
no arms race.
Like someone like Roger is like, my cross choke always works.
Why would you learn something new? Yeah. It really is detrimental. But like occasionally you get someone that's that good. Yeah. And it's a rare occasion, man. And I it's like, yeah, it's mindset, but it's all these things we talked about, man. But there is a genetic component too. That's like the one that everyone hates talking about it, but it's so obvious. It's all the combination of all these things and how they relate to one another in your environment. All of that.
Yeah, I think now more than especially like in MMA and jiu-jitsu, when this sport started, like MMA particularly like in the 90s, the people fighting weren't truly gifted specimens, right? I mean, Hoist Gracie is not an athletic freak. Yeah. Keith Hackney and Dan Severin, they were all, fit, but nobody was like...
Not Francis Ngannou.
Yeah. You got a guy like Francis, like, you would throw him in the early UFCs.
With no training, and he probably would have done really well with 0 training.
Just because of that pure physicality that he has. Now you add all the skill and stuff, like, like I always say, like people, the size doesn't matter. Like, it does.
Athletic ability. I stopped seeing size because sometimes size can be a detriment. You can be like a big fat blob and not be able to move, and that's not going to help you.
Yeah.
It's more like what is your level of athletic ability? Because then if you're big and you can hit hard, now
you're dangerous.
Just because you're big doesn't mean you hit hard.
Correct. So that is true. Athletic ability is a better way of phrasing it. Yeah, somebody with extreme athletic ability will handle a lot of people, even not as technically skilled as him, right? So in the beginning, we didn't have many of those, if any. Like Vitor is probably one of the first people that came in the UFC, and he was stunning everybody because 18-year-old kid, but just built like a freaking Greek god, you know? But now the sport has attracted all these athletes because there's more money, there's more fame. So now if you're trying to come in there like Joe Schmo, like the bar is already set here. Like you need to be this athletic to ride, and you're here. It's like, sorry, we're dealt an unfortunate hand of cards where you don't possess the athletic ability to be able to compete. And that's not to say nobody can, but it's just much, much, much more difficult. You have to make up with other things. It's kind of like that movie that you like to reference. What's it?
What is it about?
The one where a guy in the world that everybody's genetically enhanced.
Oh, Gattaca.
Yeah.
I fucking
You're going to have that level of commitment to overcome all these physical advantages that you have.
The man is a superhero. His will alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Like anyone could, you'd have to be.
Yeah. And sometimes in that...
But that's a gift too.
That's a gift.
I don't think anyone's equally willed.
Well, you remember in that movie, there's a quote that I'm going to butcher. But he was talking to the brother, because you remember they do this little swim race.
Yeah.
And the brother is gifted. And he is not. And
he's genetically enhanced. Yeah.
And he beats his brother in a swim and ends up saving him from drowning. And then it's like, how come you're beating me? Like he was mentally stronger because he was handicapped.
Yes.
If I was gifted, I wouldn't have to be as mentally as strong.
You would assume that you were going to win.
Yeah, I would just, and I'm always supposed to win.
It's such a good movie, man. That movie is good on like many levels.
But that goes kind of to the point too. Sometimes being, and we've seen it all the time. Someone who's naturally talented.
Yeah, and they don't try as hard.
They don't try as hard.
I've seen it. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, and I tell people this all the time. Like, that's why, who are the most technical people in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Lightweights.
Yeah.
Right?
They have to try harder.
They have to try harder, because if I'm a big brute, I can just do this and I hurt you, right? And then I know that, so I'm like, oh, that's all I have to do.
Yeah.
I don't have to go all fancy. I just do whatever I can and I win. When I'm the lightweight, I have to be perfect with my technique to get a finish or to be successful. So I always have to have that discipline. Yeah. I think there's also a physical component. I think just being that big makes it harder to coordinate your body. You know what I mean?
You're at a detriment.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I always thought that, but whenever I said it, people look at me like I'm crazy. Especially because I'm a big guy. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm the last one to talk, right? So, but I was like, remember in Abu Dhabi once, and I was at Henzo, and Henzo said it, and I'm like, because he said jiu-jitsu is harder for big people. Yeah. And everyone thought he was out of his mind. I'm like, I agree. The bigger you are, or the more athletic for that matter, the harder it is. Because just because you're winning does not mean you're learning. It means you're winning. But what is your purpose here? To feel good or to evolve? Very different things.
Yeah.
Because if you're just winning, maybe you feel good, but then you evolution. Now you're getting your ass kicked. You're not winning, but you're evolving. So when you walk into the gym, you need to answer that question. Am I here to win or to evolve? And they're not always on the same. Sometimes you're winning and evolving, but not always. Yeah. But if you have that north of evolution, I think the winning is a consequence.
Yes.
But the thing is, for someone like Francis Ngannou, someone's incredibly gifted, you have to have an enormous amount of self-awareness to be able to be continuously learning versus just, being able to just bully people around. I'm winning, therefore I am good enough, right? Kind of thing.
It's a level of humility as well.
A level of humility, yes. Yeah. And it's a very hard thing to do because you've been winning your whole life. I acknowledge that you're just incredibly gifted and that you could be a lot better. This is why, to me, guys like GSP are so incredible. Khabib, because I have no doubt they're also genetic freaks, but you can see that he's the kind of guy. I can guarantee you, I've never met I met GSP once, but never met, but if they were in my gym and I show them move, I can guarantee you they'd be paying attention. Yeah. Because you can see that they're humble enough to I don't know shit about fuck. Whereas the guy who's a lot of these guys that have that talent, it's precisely because they're so talented it's crippled them because they lack what you said.
Yeah.
The humility to acknowledge that you're always a student.
No, and particularly you look at someone like Ngannou, who his origin story, if you will, it makes it easier to understand why he's so humble. He came from...
I actually met him once. I don't know him that well, but yeah.
Well, he had to go through hell to get to...
I know. He was like a legal immigrant in Europe, right? He had to cross a boat or something.
He had to cross the deserts and stuff like that. It was it's all... Shit, he had a crazy ordeal. Yeah. So for him, I imagine he must be here and be... It sounds, from what I heard of the podcast, he's just super grateful all the time. So when you have that gratitude mindset, it makes life so much easier.
You know why? Because there's merit. And merit is the biggest booster. Self-esteem is the most important thing in life, in my opinion. How you feel about yourself. Because it doesn't matter if you're poor, rich, sick or not sick, or healthy. It doesn't matter. You're going to feel good about yourself. How do you build self-esteem? Through merit. If Francis Ngannou had been born, living next door to the UFC PI, and he were Dana White's son, I don't think he would have made it to begin with. And if he did, he'd probably feel a smaller sense of appreciation, humility, and merit.
Yeah.
But when it's like someone who's born rich. Where is the pride and the self-satisfaction of making money when you were already born really rich? It probably doesn't feel the same. Where when you're born poor, every person I've known that has built themselves up from nothing, they have a sense of self-esteem and confidence that is far superior than the rich little brat who may have more money than him, but he knows deep down he didn't do shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's much harder, I think. It's just like being the son of a great athlete. It's like you have big shoes to fill now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of it, you might think, people will, from the outside, think, oh, he's going to be naturally great because his dad is a major champion and all that. But you have that additional pressure now, and maybe you don't want to follow in their footsteps, or I think it's more difficult. It's always difficult to fill someone's shoes, especially when you're expected to.
Yeah.
Because now it's I'm being forced into this path, versus kind of like when you were inherited a fortune of money, and without having to really work for it for yourself. It's tricky. That's why, like,
You have to have a very unique upbringing,
yes.
to be able to, like, I mean, your dad should be, if you don't have good parents that will like teach you the value of every dime, it goes south. And I've seen that up close, man. I know people, and dad thinks it's a great idea to buy him a brand new car when they're 18, or whatever. I'm like, oof, it's not gonna. It never does because they don't value anything. It's kind of like me handing you a black belt. Like, let's say you never trained before, and I just hand you a black belt. How do you feel about that black belt? What does it mean to you?
Yeah,
but if you know you've paid the cost, you've paid your dues, and you killed yourself to have that position, like, no one can ever take that from you. That sense of pride, you carry it with you from the day you receive your black belt to the day you die, and no one could ever take that away from you.
Yeah, it's a priceless thing.
It's a priceless thing, but it's only valuable because you struggled.
Yeah.
It's the struggle that you have to chase. It's not the reward. I always say that the hard work is the reward, because reward with no struggle, what does it mean?
Yeah, it's true.
There's no meaning.
Yeah.
Right? It's got to be hard. It has to be difficult. Right? Anyway, Dave, I think we're past our hour.
Yeah.
We're all over the place as usual.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, me and Dave, I think the first 10 episodes, I think we planned, like, okay, we're going to talk about, we had a list, I think the first time, was like 10 topics. It's like, and it didn't work from the beginning. It never worked.
We'd start one place and it just...
it just like the complete tangent. But we just really, literally wing it. I think we normally start with like one topic and we just go over the place. But yeah, fun that way. All right. Always a pleasure, man.
All right. Likewise. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. Thank you guys. See you mañana. Next time. Ciao.